holding Sief Gimel, yeah? No, we're holding middle Sief Gimel. Kaplen, the part that we learned till now is the Friedrich starts is the Akdam, and you get to it's what's the Pshat Eitz Shlamayla. Good, but Kaplen, now we're discussing the Tikkun Zayar. It says Eid and Sef is the Maila, the Ketz, Lamata, the Takis. So first of all, the Rabbi goes into two pratim. You say the word Eid and Sef, so when we speak over here, this Tikkun Zayar, the Pshat is that the Gili is Ein Sef. The Eid itself is Ein Sef. That's number one. Number two, B'chlal, it says in Chassidus, it says in Kabbalah, the Lashon Ein Sef, it's going on the Eir and not on the Etzem. Why? Because the Etzem, that if we're speaking about Atzim, we should use the higher, the Torah of Ein L'Tchila. And the Tchila means that it's a Kadmon, it's Mechuyev Mitzvos. That's much of a, so the Pashta says that it's a higher Torah. Ein L'Seif, being bleak full of piles, that you find also in Nevrayim. You could have even someone which is not a Tchila, which doesn't have a Tchila Kaviyachol, some which has a Tchila, some which was created, some which has a Mahave, could also be an Eifin of Ein L'Seif. But in the Tchila, that only Atzmos, he's the only one that's Mechuyev Mitzvos, that he wasn't made Kaviyachol. He's not totally in anything else. He's here. His mitzvah, the way he is mechuyev. That's the way it is betzim. Good. So the passage is just that if the Kabbalah would do, if when they use the Torah Ein Sof, he meant etzem, we should use lashon Ein L'Tchila, which is a higher mile. But I said last time, it's not just that it's a higher mile. Even it's a higher mile, it's you have someone that he has many miles. He has seichel, he has midas. So you're going to say, how could they say that this person is well midas? He has much more. He has another mile. Good, fine, but he has the mile of midas also. So we have to always discuss the rest of milas asarat. When we're speaking about Atzmos, we don't know, I'm saying, Loi Dumi Asihila. I'm saying the Eibush is higher than any description, any Shvat. We're using a word, so we use the word Ein Sof. What's the problem? That we use the term Ein Sof. It says a higher mile, good, so that's Machriach, that Ein Sof means Etzem and not air. It means air, not Etzem. But the word is more than that. When the Rameh asks the Shaila, how does the Rameh say? How does the Rameh say? The Rameh says, the Rameh brings a dogma that the Musik itself you can find Benegeh to Nevrayim also. As is like the Rameh, he brings Lashon to the Torah. That Rameh says that B'chlal Kadmon hu b'vadei nitzchi, B'chlal nitzchi ein Kadmon. That something which is eternal, which has no end, is not necessarily a Kadmon. V'sha'asichlam hanevdalim him nitzchim b'ratz na'beiris bar. You see that lashon of the Rameh. Av b'shem chodash ma'aliyah. So what's he saying in Pashtus? The way that Rameh is speaking about it, the way that Rameh is speaking about it. Let's say that he's dealing with Ein Sof in the Musik of Zman. So there's most Nevrayim that we know are limited Nevrayim. I mean, why are we limited? The same way we were created in a certain time. That means Ve'etzem we don't exist. Ve'etzem we didn't, without anything happening, without anybody creating us. Besides our mitzvah itself, we don't exist. The Eibush created us. We were created. So then, our mitzvah is limited. We exist only in the format or only in that area where the Eibush wants us to be. You're not bligvul. And merely your kim has a gvul. The same your guf ha-mitzvah is a mitzvah mugbelas. So your existence is also mugbel. That's a cloud. The Rambam says there can't be in a mitzvah mugbelas. There can't be a keach bulti mugbelas. Let's not go into the Chodos. If you have aschal, that means that you're mugbel. That means that you're be'etzim, you don't exist. And the fact that you're brought into existence is a certain occurrence that happens, a chiddush. So your mitzvah is mugbel. Mitzvah is mugbel, you can't have a kiyam built in mugbel. Now, lepoil, we have nevrayim that are nitzchim. The shemesh, that the shemesh is a nitzchi. What does it mean the shemesh is a nitzchi? The same power that the sun had when it was first created, the same exact energy it has now also. It's chazakim kemi barim. As I state in the Rishalmi, it brings touches a positive that the chazakim kemi barim. So the Chassidus says that's a raya that there's a keach built in mugbel in the tzva shemayim. There's a kiyam built in mugbel in them. Because if they would be ba'akbala, then they should have been weaker. Any nivra which has a limited amount of existence, so so let's say you were first born, you had 120 years, you're a limited being, so you have a limited amount of existence. And then when you're first born, you're able to live 120 years. And then you live 1 year, 2 years, you use that as part of your energy. So now you have less keach to exist. If the Shemesh and the Reich would have a Keach Mugbal, they were only able to exist 6,000 years. So now that 5,000 years passed, they should have been much weaker than they were in the beginning. The Pesach Neshama, that the same energy that they had then, the exact same energy they have now. Why? Because they have a Chayes built in Mugbalas. They have a Kiyum built in Mugbalas. An unlimited Chayes. That's what he says the Lashon to get to the Shemesh. That in Kamam and Evrem, you nitzchim b'ratz nabeir. There are certain Evrem that they're unlimited. They have unlimited amount of energy. That's Lepoy Lepella. So he says, so the Ramesh says, so what's he saying? So it's not stam as that. What's the pashtus of the Rameh? So if the idea of Ein Sof, you find in Nevrayim also. You have Nevrayim that are Ein Sof. You have Nevrayim that Mamish have a kiyum. Their existence is not limited. But the only one that has no beginning, That Ein Leitchila, the only one that has no beginning, he was never made. His existence, his existence, that's the way it is Ba'atzim. That's only Atzim. That's only the Eibishter. So we should have called Eibishter Ein Leitchila. But it's much more than that. It's much more than that because what do we understand? As I said before, if we have a higher praise, so we decided to use a lower praise. It's a different word. The Ein Sof which comes as a result of being in the Tchila is a different type of Ein Sof. The Eibishter's Ein Sof is not the same type of Ein Sof the way it is in the Vrayim. So when you say the Lashon Ein Sof itself, you don't express the Eibishter's Ein Sof. You're not even speaking about that aspect. When you speak about a person, the person has a Basi, Midas. Even if you don't speak about his higher Ma'ala, he has a lower Ma'ala. You speak about his Midas. When you say Benegate to Ein Sof, Benegate to Atzmas, the word Ein Sof doesn't express the Ein Sof that he has. So when you get to the Kabbalah, the way the Kabbalah bring it, why? Because is the Shemesh Yerech really blinkful? Is the Shemesh today a Dover Bulti Mukbal? Avaz the Shemesh is not a Dover Bulti Mukbal. The Shemesh today is a Dover Mukbal. The fact that the Shemesh is Kiyum, is an unlimited Kiyum, that's not Mesiachas to the Shemesh. The Shemesh today is not an unlimited being. It's a limited being. And it's that the Shemesh is Tchonis, it should have been a Dover Mukbal. The Eibishter, for some reason, you have to understand how the Keach works, how the Keach Blikvul works. But it's not the Pshat that the Shemesh itself is an unlimited being, or has unlimited existence. The pearl, it didn't become weak because there's a Keach Blikvul, which is pearl in it. Chassidus says it's pearl, whatever the beard is. But it's technically Blikvul. It's not that the emes, the Shemesh, is unlimited. You understand what I'm saying? Mashiach, when you speak when you get to Elokus is unlimited take. It's not the pshat that technically it has no hefsik. Elokus is a certain stage which there can't be a hefsik. It's unlimited. An unlimited being cannot be nifsa. So you use the word Ein Sof, you're not expressing that mitasina that the Eibishter is Ein Sof. Now, I'm saying that this Indian goes a little bit deeper. When Chassidus says that the Eir is called Ein Sof, is it Ein Sof the Shemesh V'Yirech or Ein Sof? When we see the Eir is Ein Sof, it's not like Shemesh V'Yirech. It's not like Shemesh V'Yirech Be'etzim today. The sun is a limited being. The same way it's limited of how much guf, how much. So it's Be'etzim limited how much energy it has. The fact that it's unlimited energy, that's not Mesiachas to the sun. That's a pellet that the Eibishter does. We have to understand how it works. Mashiach, the Eir is unlimited. Taka. The Eir is an unlimited being. The Eir has no limits. Taka has no limits. It's not that it's a technical thing. The Eir Taka has no limits. You understand what I'm the Rabbi brings here, the Shemesh, you can't call the Shemesh that it's a Metzias built to Mekbelis. The Peil Mamash, it has a Kiyum Blikvul. But the fact that it has a Kiyum Blikvul, it's not Mesiachas to the Shemesh. Let's say it's like a Nes. Like you say, the water, by the Kriyashams, the water stood like stones. So the water can't stand like a stone. The Eibishter made a Peller. Al Derech Zeh, it's not really like this. I'm just saying, the Indian Khan, the fact that the Shemesh is as strong as it was when it was first created, it's not because the Shemesh has unlimited amount of energy. It's a Nes. But the Shemesh is never mukbal, so it's only technically that it has no limits. Mashiach, when you get to Eir, the Eir has taka no limits. The Eir is taka blikvul. The Eir is taka blikvul. So the Eir is taka blikvul. And Afal Pikein, the Rebbe is using the nusach of the Mukubalim also when you get to the Eir. Because, so still, the Mukubalim say that the Ein, if you use the term Ein Sof, is not an accurate term, because Ein Sof could mean technical, and it is the emes Ein Sof. The Eibishter is Ein Sof because he has no beginning, so it's not shaykh to be hefsek to the Eibishter's Metzias. Now we use the same shayla in a higher Eif, even after we say that the Eir is taka Ein Sof, but the fact that the Eibishter is the Atzmos is Ein Sof is a different type of Ein Sof. Atzmos is Ein Sof as a result of Ein Leitchila. That's a different type of Ein Sof. The Ein Sof, even though the Eir is taka unlimited, but the Eir, the fact that he's Ein Sof in dem bashtet zay Maile, in dem bashtet is shvach. His Maile is that he's Ein Sof. So it's a tayar of Ein Sof. We see later the Pratei Advar. It's a certain description. His Maile is that he's unlimited. He's tak unlimited. It's his Maile. When you say when you get the Atzmos, the Atzmos is Ein Sof. It's a different type of Ein Sof. It's an Ein Sof, not Alts Maile. He's unlimited without any definitions. Not because the idea of being unlimited expresses a certain Maile that he has. He's unlimited. That's only who could have the Ein Sof. The Atzmos Ein Sof is a different type of Ein Sof. It's the Amitus Ein Sof. And that type of Ein Sof is only if you're in the Tchila. You understand the meaning?
This comes out as two realities of Ein Sof.
You could say that. There's the way the Ephraim are believable. The Ephraim are not by definition unlimited. You can't say that the sun today is an unlimited being. It's an everlasting being. Is it an everlasting being? Everlasting being means that it cannot be cancelled. The Shemesh is something the same way it began. Why can't it be cancelled? It didn't exist always. So what does that mean? That this reality is not. This is the way it is. In a certain state, it was a chadish. So the same way it started, it gets stopped. I'm saying, what's the an unlimited thing? Something that it can't be otherwise. This mitzias, this reality, this is the way things have to be. It can't be otherwise. Then it can never be cancelled. It's not that the reason why things are like this is not because of a certain reason. It's because this is the way it is. You can only say that when you get to Atzmus. Atzmus is the only being which the way that his reality, that's the way it is. Not before anything else existed. His mitzias is based on any reasons, it's not based on a circumstance. His mitzias is a mechuyev. This is the way this is the way reality is. His mitzias has to be. So the same way it has to be without any reasons, it can never be cancelled. It's not based on any circumstance. Look, we say also when you get to the earth that it's unlimited. We'll have to see later the beer. But the earth is a mitzias which has no limits. That means the earth is everywhere and it can't be this battle. It's blikful. The earth ain't sof. The Eibusher's gilui also is ain't sof. And still, so Ein Sof means that it's unlimited. It's not in a certain space. It's Ein Sof. To be Ein Sof, that means to be everywhere, to be effective on every level, is only something which is mitzias. Again, something which has a aschala. Something which is mitzias is not the emes. What does it mean? It's not the emes. I mean, be'amitis inyan. Before anything happened, before a chitzenis dikasiba came into the picture, it didn't exist. So. Why does it exist? It exists because it was created. Something because of a certain circumstance that it exists. So where is this mitzvah going to be? Only in that circumstance. You understand what I'm saying? So every mitzvah which is chadish is by definition mugbal. Not only mugbal in zman, also mugbal in where this mitzvah could exist. Where it exists. Could you say that a table should be eight of this pashtusa? What should be eight of this pashtusa? Be'etzim it doesn't exist b'chlal. And they should create it only in these properties. He exists. So beyond these properties, it doesn't exist. We say when they get to the earth that the earth is Ein Sof. He's the Ma'ala ad Ein Ketz. He's the Ma'at ad Ein Tachlis. There's no limit where the earth is. That's even a deeper mustig of blikvul than the blikvul of Zman. Not only that it exists on its level, unlimited. That also you have to be a Ein Litchila. But it's saying when you get to the earth, first of all, it has no limit. When you get, it's a Nitzchi. And more than that, it's Ein Sof. It's everywhere. It's blikvul. It's on every level of existence. There's earth. That means that the earth is Ein Sof b'tachlis. Why is it? L'chura to be Ein Sof is only if you're Ein Litchila, you have no Sof. That we're going to see later. What's the pshat? But the I'm just before. But the earth is taka Ein Sof. The earth is taka matzias built to mugbelas. Shal is how is the earth blikvul? In order to be blikvul, it's only something which is never neschadish. But shaking the earth is not a davar mechuyev b'etzem. The only thing which has to be, the only thing which is atzmus. The only thing which has to exist is the Eibusher himself. Everything else, the Eibusher is not forced that anything else has to be. Everything else is, he brought it into existence. So if he brought it into it, it has a limit of where it is. The Eibusher wants, not that the union of Gili of Eir is not a davar mechuyev.
Why is that the other word? Without saying the idea that it's Gili of Atzmus, creating something with those properties, that it's going to be forever and everywhere. That idea,
but
why is it so moving? Why?
No,
Why can't you create
something?
Why is that so moving?
Because I'm asking you a question. You could, let's say you could. But what's the pshat that this thing is blikvul? This thing can't be cancelled? Can't? Why can't? The same way it once didn't exist, it could also weiter not exist.
In the state of being you created it in such a way which...
So it's only going to have what the Eibusher gave him. It's not an unlimited being. It's going to have what the Eibusher gave him. What I'm saying is, this table, the Eibusher gave that it has wood, it has a color brown, it has this. Say, this property gave more to that property. Say that, he gave more. But it's not unlimited. So he has what he got. Every prat that he has is another addition that he has. I'm saying...
Forget about the
Eibusher, we're asking a simple question. How can we understand that a Metzias, which before 6,000 years ago didn't exist, it means that it's not something which has to be. Because of in a certain circumstance, because of a certain reason he was created. So this Metzias now is unlimited. What is unlimited? It can't be cancelled. Why can't it be cancelled? The same way it didn't exist 6,000 years ago. So tomorrow it doesn't have to exist. I'm saying, the fact that it exists is a chiddush. It's against the status. The status quo was that it didn't exist. The Eibusher went and did something against the status quo. So we can bring it back to the status quo. Any Metzias which doesn't exist be'etzem, by definition it's limited. It's here because it's technically here because the Eibusher wants it to be here at this time. It's not something which has to be here. It's not something which... The Vela has a hefzer. It's not Ein Sof. But you get to the area we say that it is Ein Sof. And it's everywhere. Which we'll see later, the Prat. You get to the area we say that it is Ein Sof. I don't know why I'm going into... But the point I'm trying to bring out is that the Eir is taka blikvol, not like the Shemesh Yerech. The Shemesh V'Yerech today are limited in Vrayim, which have a limited, for that from their point of view, today, the Shemesh is such a thing, which has a limited energy of existence. L'pel Mamash, there's no weakness. L'pel Mamash, it's nitzchi. But that's not Mesiachas to the Shemesh V'Yerech. Mashiach Eir in Yoni is Blikvul. Eir is not a Davar Mugvul, Eir is Blikvul.
The properties of the sun isn't bleakvul. It's a bleakvul, which is
affecting it somehow. Which is affecting it somehow. We have to understand how that works, but that's not the discussion of the Mamer. Which is discussed in Chassidus exactly how. It's a lumdus for itself. But the shemesh, but it's not a. It's a limited reality. The same way it has a certain kamas of how big the shemesh is, as a certain amount of energy that the shemesh has. And the shemesh should have been, it's at its nature, it should have been something which gets weak every minute. It should have always been getting. The pearl doesn't get weak. You have to understand how that works. There's a kind of bleak vol being pearl in it. But shaken eir is not daimon to the shemesh yerech. The eir is bleak vol take. The eir is bleak vol. Has no limits. And the eir is everywhere. That's the eir is ein sefer spashtuse. The eir is mispashat on all levels. It's bleak vol mamish. It's ein saf mamish. We have to understand the same way. Maybe we'll see a little bit weiter. But still, Chassidus says, but the eir is ein saf mamish. But the same way that Ramesh says when they get to we speak about ein saf when they get to the musik of zman, that you can't. What's the simple reading of the Ramesh? Why can't you say that lashon ein saf is going on atzmos? Because the word ein saf could be also be going on Ephraim, and there the ein saf is a technical ein saf. It's not. They're not really unlimited. So I'll say even more. Even if you speak the real touch of it, that the eir is taka ein saf, we still can't use the word ein saf when you get to atzmos, because the fact that atzmos is ein saf is in a deeper level, even deeper than the eir is ein saf. Is that what I'm saying?
So there's two ways of asking the question of the Mukubali.
You can say it like that. What I'm saying is the fact that atzmos is ein saf is a result of him being ein litchila. It's a deeper idea of ein saf. The ein saf of the eir, even if you say that it's bleak vol taka, but in Yani is that he's not moving. So the fact that he's bleak vol, that expresses his character. Mashiach atzmos, the fact that he's ein saf is a result of him not of being ein litchila. Because his reality doesn't start from any point, he's here be'etzem. But maybe he has no limit. So that not being limited is a different type of not being limited. It's a hecher inu from itself. The meila, if you're using the term itself, we can't be speaking when you get to atzma. We have to speak when you get to air. Because look at the lashon that Rabbi says here. It says masha nukedem itself. Just look at this lashon just for a minute. It says masha nukedem itself. Innocent alemer letarm husbas musis alach hashem. When we say the word ein saf, we don't mean to describe if was b'shtei zaymal as there's ein saf. As that starting saf nishto an atzmos. The fact that the atzmos is blig vo, that's beyond it. That doesn't bring out his ma'ila. That's a blig vo. That's a titzav being ein litchila. That's what I'm saying. Different Indian. The same way you say when you get to Nevraim, that the fact that the nivra is a nitzchi and the fact that the Eibush is nitzchi is two separate in Yonim. The nivra is a nitzchi. It's technical nitzchi. It's not. The Eibush is nitzchi says that it's not that he's never going to stop existing. He can't stop existing. His mitzvahs cannot be cancelled. A shemesh, he cannot be. Of course, it could be cancelled. Technically speaking, he has a zah existence which doesn't get cancelled. That's only technically. Not al derech when we speak even a higher level. The reason why we don't say the term ein saf and get to etzem is because the fact ein saf is not the fact that the Eibush is blig vul is a result of him being ein litchila. He's not shaykh to limitations. Not that there's that his ma'ila is expressed in the fact that he's ein saf. About he's not shaykh. It's not shaykh to say limitations about. We'll see later what's the nafkamina l'poil. This man doesn't really discuss it. I'm just saying this is kedai to know. If you're learning it, this man doesn't discuss this point. Maybe we'll see later some pratim of it. So the eir is eir shein l'seif. We'll see later maybe more pratim in this, but this is. So we're going to get to the eir. Since it says that the eir of ein saf, it means the gili of ein saf, his expression. Let's see how we touch the word eir in pashtus. The expression, his revelation, whatever you is ein saf. So the eir itself is unlimited. Let's see. So what I have to read now. Rabbi Mamer shetam adav sheir atzmi. Who b'chinas ein sof ulefi she'er u'me'ein amar. What's free to get up his lashon? We have the parak here. He brings. He says, you have the lashon. He says, "Masher mata den tachas akavana shegil the tachas b'chinas ein sof blik vol klal." There's no limitations at all. The Zeu Kriya Shem, the Shem Ein Sof, the Eir Atri Ein Sof. Oh, Tamadaber, why is the Eir Ein Sof? Visha Eir Ein Amar. Yandex. The Rebbe stellt sich auf dem. He says like this. But ini bezeken wur, makam achesh, ini ze Eir Atri Mibchenes Ein Sof, luchur stiru min Ebei. Shari, ini na Eir Geschmekin hu ha'ar Belvad. Ve'in Eich Shaykh Lemer, shu Ein Sof l'mitasa shalin, hainu sheim ba'ag balas klal. So, the way the Rebbe says it, I mean, this nusach that Mitzayin over here to some Vav, he says it a little bit differently. Mitzayin to Sief. Where is it? Where is he? Say this lashon, I'm not sure, but in Pashas Advarim, let's say the way I was saying before. I think the way the Rebbe says it here is even more. But the way he said in some of is in Pashas like this. So Rabbi says that the klal is kol sheyesh le tchila yesh le tichla. That's the klal. Anything that has a beginning has an end. That's what I was saying before. Has a beginning means that his reality is a chiddush. But etzem, the status quo is without doing anything, without any reasons. With nothing, it doesn't exist. His existence needs a reason. If your existence needs a reason, then your existence is limited to the reason that brought you into your existence. You're not believable. Yeah, that's Havana Pshuta. So now you speak about the musik of Gilei Elikos. Eir is the Eibusher's expression. The Eibusher's Gilei, his revelation. The idea of revelation has to exist. The idea of that Elikos has to be Gilei is an idea which has to exist. Nothing has to. The only thing that has to exist is the Eibusher himself. Nothing else has to exist. The same way a table doesn't have to be, and the fact that it exists had to be created, had to be a reason for it. So any idea had to be created. So the fact, the musik of that the Eibusher is revealed, that it can be experienced, is begilui. The idea of gilui is an idea which it's an idea, had to be created. It doesn't exist be'etzem. So if the idea of gilui doesn't exist be'etzem, so where does the gilui exist? So the fact that the gilui exists, the Eibusher wanted it. There's the same way every other mitzvah has a limit where it is. Because it only exists within the concept, within the circumstance that legitimizes its being. So there's the musik of gili only exists within the sibah that's mechayiv this gili. Doesn't exist everywhere. Doesn't exist be'etzem. That's the klal the regular says. It's the reason why that you can't that the musik of the kasha, the how can you see the eir is in stuff, is because kol sheyesh letchila yesh letichla. Anything that has a beginning, it has to be that it has an end. It has to be that it's not that it's mugbal. That it only exists according to the reason that it's not that this thing is meaningful. Why should this thing be everywhere? Yeah, that's. But the Rebbe says a little bit different. You see the way the Rebbe has to shine there. If I state this cloth, they understands this. This has to be a double bar. Because a one pshuta could be this musik. Oh, but the Rebbe says here even more. He says, "Inin zasher atzim b'chinas intzaf u'luchur stir minei ubei." The Rebbe says stir minei ubei. Shari inin ha'er keshmekin hu was a arab alvad. I think over here it's a little bit more. Eich shaykh lemer shu intzaf lamitasa she'inin hainu she'im ba'ag balas klal. Yeah, I verstehen the how the Rebbe words the shayla.
Who said it's lamitasa shadav?
Huh? What does it mean? We're saying the lashon. That's the malat gets the matat in tachas. That is ein sof. The Rebbe's touching here sounds like a little bit more that he has that the eir has the pstamitis ein sof. That's what I was asking here. If he's arab lavad means that whatever I'm expressing is not even the word arab lavad comes to say that what I'm expressing isn't even a percentage of what the inyan really is. That's pshat arab lavad. When you say not arab lavad means that even though I'm not expressing the whole idea, but I'm giving us a percentage of the idea. Ha'arab avad means that what the inyan I'm being megale, you don't even have a 1% of what the inyan be'etzem is. I'm not expressing anything of the inyan. As you say the words for so the eir is coming to express the Eibusher's gadlus. So you say that the eir is revealing a certain inyanim of the gadlus of Elikos. What is made in eir, what's being made in eir is only ha'arab avad what the Eibusher is. You say a person, You have the person's mindless be'etzem. You have the person walks into the room and he projects a certain greatness. There's a certain he's mayor. He projects a certain godless. You say the fact that what you're being margish, what he's projecting, begilui, what's shining out of him is not even a percentage of the godless that what his mahus is. The earth doesn't express that all of them are. That's the pshat ha'ara levat.
The mahus.
Ha'ara doesn't express it. Not even 1% of what the mar is. Forget it. We're going to get to soon. So where does the earth come from? I'm just saying they're very attached to the word ha'ara levat. So the Rebbe is saying, how could you say that the earth is not mitzvah say in sof? If you're saying that it doesn't express even the earth has no erech legabe elikos, legabe the emes. The earth has no shivas legabe the emes. He's a tough little bottle legabe. So how can you say that in the earth you have that mitzvah say in sof? In an earth kishmekinu that is ha'ara levat. What does ha'ara levat mean? That he doesn't express at all, and not even any chelik of the It's koloch shiv. Ve'ich shayach lemeshu in sof lamitosa shein in hainish ein be'agbal iskal. Yeah, this lashon. Let me just have a quick nefes verstehen. Not verstehen the lashon. Let's start achin, be more, it says like this. Shezeh sha'er hu ein sof, ein ze mitzad atzmei. Lefi she'er nimtza me'amar v'me'en amar. So the fact that the air is ein sof is not because, that's not mitzad the air, we'll see the taich in a minute. It's not mitzad atzmei, but the she'er nimtza me'amar. So you have to remember, the Rebbe is not saying that the air is ein sof. The question is, why is the air ein sof? The fact that the air is ein sof is not because of its own right, kavayachol, not because air is azam esor zach. Why is the air itself ein sof? Not because air, on its own accord, is azam esor zach, which is ein sof, but it's because, you can say it like this, if you would say, let's say a person, you have a nefesh adam, a person has different miles. A person has keicha seichel, keicha midis, chesed, whatever. They mention verschiedene miles. So you're going to say, a person has seichel, let's say. So you say, where's the mahusa adam expressed? Where's the mahusa adam? So you have, his nefesh is mizbata in the way he understands things. His nefesh is mizbata in the way he feels things. If someone knows someone else according to the way he expresses himself in the seichel amidus, did you capture the whole person? If you have the way you know the way he understands things, you know the way his attitude towards things is. So you know his whole nefesh. You don't know his whole nefesh. There's not the whole person is not expressed in how he his attitude. But you know one aspect of it. But one aspect you know. So you have nafshius over here. You have expression of nefesh over here. Not the entire nefesh. You have a certain aspect of his nefesh. You have. So you say, if you say that there's a nivra is a nivra. A nivra doesn't express all of those. It is, as I said before, the marshal, a person walks into a room, besides the fact that he has his malice inside, there's a certain shine that's it. Some people they project something. So same when you get to the Eibush, besides we have the Eibush's atzmos, you have his gili, his mayor. So you have herzach gadus, it's mayor gadus Hashem. So you're going to say, even though the whole etzem is not expressed in this gili, but a little bit of the mile of Elokus you have in this gili. A bissel von Elokus hast du in der gili. Then yamot but we can't say that the air is Ein Sof. The air expresses, let's say, that element of Elokus. That element of the Ein Sof of the Eibush there, that the air does capture. But the Rebbe says, no, the air is audible vad. The air doesn't express anything of the Eibush. The air is audible vad. Audible vad means that the gili doesn't capture at all the etzem. So how could the air be Ein Sof? So if them answered men that the fact that the air is Ein Sof is because he's Me'ein Amar. We'll see what that means in a minute. That's the teretz. Means the air inside its own erech, inside its own accord. The air is doesn't express anything of the most of Elokus. But we have a special idea called air Me'ein Amar. Since air Me'ein Amar, so the air gufa is Ein Sof. So Lamer Zen a bissel in from air mit. The hini yadua. Shmei Amar yacholi is beze fani ashpa. Eifen ashpa shnikr b'shem air. Eifen ashpa shnikr b'shem shafa. V'achidik b'neim. The Indian Hashefa nimmt sich mit Sies Dover Mahus Dover. Ich bekam Lishmazer given these Nyanim in the English language. I'm having a hard time expressing this in English. Okay. In Hashem Shem Mahus mit Sies das schwere Hindi bechal. Huh? Yiddish is better? Okay. We'll mix a couple of languages together. In Hashefa nimmt sich mit Sies Dover Mahus Dover, weil derech Mashkas Shvoas Maim Tchasech. The Elam is bekannt with the music of Eir and Shefa. You do know the Eid. So let's go through Biktzar the Eid. What's in Pashas Advar? The Rebbe brings a very Moshel Gashmi. That there's famous Shai and Chassidus. Why? That the Sifri, the Chekrim, daily Sifri, daily Yisrael, when they get to the fact that the Eibush is Mashpia Chayes and Elam is. So the vim mit verstanden is there's an Eibishter, there's a Lukus, and then there's a world. The world is not the Eibishter, right? The world is created by the Eibishter. Shemesh, Reach, Tzedim, there's a Metzias of Eilumis. And the Eibishter is Mashpia Chayis, Vat Machayis Kulam, there's a Chayis of a Lukus, which is Mashpia and affects an Eilumis. That's reality. We have a world. How is the plants, how is your Kechetz Mech in the plants? That comes from the Eibishter. The Eibishter is Mashpia, Chayis, and the energy in every single Nivra. So there's the Mukkah, this is the Mashpia, which is the Eibishter. He's the resource of the energy comes from him. And then there's the Makabel, and there's the Ashpa that goes from the Makabel to the Nivra. So there's two different Eifanim of how you are Mechane, the Eifan of Ashpa is the Lukus Nivra. The Chekrim use the Lashon, talking about Yidnich, the daily Yisrael. They use Lashon Shefa Liki. Shefa. Mashik in the Kabbalah, the Lashon is always So Shaila is, why did the Chekrim use the Lashon Shefa and the Kabbalah use the Lashon The Lashon Shefa is a better Lashon. Because is a certain type of being. Is light. It's a certain definition. Mashik in Shefa doesn't express any Hagdara of what you're giving over. Shefa is the idea that there's Ashpa being transferred. But the Shefa doesn't define what type of thing is being given over. Not to define a lukus. So if you don't want to define a lukus, the right expression to use is Shefa, not air. So why does the Kabbalah use the Lashon air dafke? So Chassidus state that the Lashon that the Eifen Ashpa, that the Eibush is Mashpia, lukus and Vel, is the dugmas like air is nimshach when amar. The reason why the Kabbalah use the Lashon air is not because we wanted to use the idea of light. And light is the most refined nivra, so we use light for a different reason. The way the light comes from the sun, the way light is from them, that type of ashpa we wanted to use when we get to lukus being mashpia chayis televis. There's the musik of shefa. There's one way that a mashpia gives the makabel an eifin of shefa. There's one way how the sun emanates its light to the world. And the way the chayis televus to the world, the good mashal on it is the way the sun emanates its light to the world. What's the difference between shefa and air? So what's the difference? So this is two mashal, but let's see the gash music of mashal. That shefa, we say shefa mayim tchasich. You have let's say the regular music shvas, and everybody speaks shvas mayim. Yeah, the amshagas hamayim me'amayim even shemishich mehush shamayim. Yeah, what's the pashta mashal gashmi? You have over here a stream of water, right? And you want that the water should get there, or should become wet over there. How is it going to get wet over there? So a little bit of the guf hamayim, which is here, has to go there. So a little bit of the water goes there. If a little bit of the water is not going to go there, so it's not going to get wet over there. That's the pasha. A little bit of water has to go there. Let's just see the lashon. Abyssal vaser, a part of the water, leaves the source and goes to this place. Yeah, it's the pasha, right? What do we say? What do we say when you get to the shemesh? Even though the shemesh also the shemesh there's a source of light. We're talking about this idea of the shemesh that we're able to see things. There's an idea of light. By day we're able to see what's going on. So the source of the light is in the sun. And now the sun, its light was nimshach to the world. Now we're able to see. So it should be out the same way we say when you get to water. The water originated in the stream. But how did the water get there? A little bit of water had to go there. Right? Get to the sun. The sun it has the resource of light. A little bit of light extended and came here. A little bit of the sun, let's say, had to extend and come to the world. Nothing of the sun came to the world. The fact that the light that we're able to see what's going on. Nothing of the sun, nothing of this muhus of the sun was nimshach and came to this world making us see. We're sitting in a room, right? Let's say this middle of the day, we're sitting in a room and there's light in this room. So what's the passage you would say, what's making us before the sun came out to the world, I wasn't able to see. Now, light came. So what's the pshat that light came? A little bit of the energy of the sun came here. So Arabah means that nothing of the sun came here.
What is the sun?
Huh?
What is the sun?
1 second. Before we go, I just want to bring out this point. By water, you say the fact, if something got wet over here, that means a little bit of water came there. It can't be the water stayed here and here got wet. If there got wet, the water went there. By light to the sun, you say, the sun never extended itself and came here. Sun has been kaimai. And after it became, we're able to see. It's not that a little bit of light came here. That's the Gashmi Sadvar.
I'm not saying that the sun came.
I'm saying, same way when you get to the water. The water had to leave the stream and come to this new place. First, the sun includes within himself light, right? Within himself, he includes the energy of the quality of being Mamer. He has it. This idea of whatever light means, but he includes this energy. Now it came here to the world. It's a big merchak between there and here. So his light came here. So his light did not come here. Nothing of his energy came here.
light.
Not like Shvas Mayim, huh?
Not even the light came here.
Nothing came here. No, they're dealing with the light. Wegen the light. But they get to the stream, the earth of the stream didn't come, the water. We're talking about the thing that makes it wet. We're talking about the thing that you're getting. The light, what's making us being able to see. The energy that makes us, there's some energy that makes the idea of being seeing things. This energy, the sun exists, the sun includes within it. Source is the sun. So did a part of what's in the sun come here? The answer is nothing from the sun came. How do we see? It's a good question. We'll get into that. If the sun didn't come, how do we see? But the first, the Guf Hadvarim. Shvas Mayim Trasech means that a little bit of the source had to come here. A little bit of the energy of the Indian had to come here. Or you say that nothing of the Makar came here. That's the Gashmis the Kamashal. Now, what's the Gashmis? It's hard to understand exactly how it works by the sun. The Gashmis the Indian. But the reality is, Achsidus brings Kam the Kamerayas. If you would say, but it gets a mashal water. There's different rayas, but just to get the technical side of the Indian. Then we'll see the Avan of the Indian. But to get to water, you're going to say, if there was a stream of water, and then a little bit of water came here, once I got my water here, I don't have to, the stream can get dried up, my water is going to stay leilavad. If you fill up a cup of water from the stream, it's totally in the stream could leave and you have your cup of water. But the sun, why wouldn't we be able to preserve the light that comes into this room? It was dark now, we have a little window, light came into the room. We should shut the window now and should stay light in the room forever, for us nish. Why doesn't it work like that? Why can we take water in a cup and you can't take light and preserve it? For us nish. It's not anything. So this is our Rabbi. So it's not anything. So how are we seeing? You don't know. Good. That's what he's trying to say is that the air is not anything. It is something. It's a reflection of the sun. But that's what we'll see in a minute. But air on its own right, it's not an entity for itself. Air is not an entity for itself. It's a reflection of the sun. But it's not an entity for itself. It's hard to understand. It's not an entity for itself. That's why good. So
ray of the sun?
Huh? It's not an extension the way we say it. The minute you say extension in physical terms, so you can keep it here. It's in Gashmi it's hard to understand exactly the Hezbollah Advan, but we'll get to that in a minute. Just to say first the Avan of the Indian. So the Shaila is, what's going to get us is more the Avanas Indian, not the technicalities of how the area of the Gashmis works.
It helps you understand.
But it's a little bit hard to understand the Gashmis the Kamashal Be'er Hashemish. So the Minish says it brings to verstehen. But I want to make out just the first Avan of the Indian, then maybe we could explain a little bit when we get to the Hashemish. So what's the Hezbollah Advarim Taka? The Shaila, what's the Havana? Why? So that's the Moshel Gashmi. Now, what's the Havana Taka? Why? But if you want to be must take water from a stream, so a little water has to go to the stream. As the Pashut, if you want this place Mitzad Atzmi is dry, wetness comes from water. You want this place to be affected by the water, right? The wetness stems from water, not from anything else. So in order for this place to get wet or to get moist, you need water there. Without having water there, what do you mean have a ha'ara of water? You have to have a little bit of the water has to come there. It's the Pashut. So in Ruchnis, you have a Ashpas Rav Talmud, right? So the Rav understands a certain idea. The Rav's Mayach is, let's say, a higher level than the Talmud. A higher target than the Talmud. Now, you want that this idea, the Talmud has a different type of Mayach, should also understand it. So in order for the Talmud to understand it, you have to lower down the Indian. If you're not going to lower down the Indian, you're only going to keep the Indian the way it is, the way in the Edelkeit of the Rav Seichel, the Talmud is not going to understand. He has a Mayach gas, he has more of a grubba head. So in order for him to understand it, you have to lower the Indian down to his Mayach. Now, when you lower the Indian down and you're masber the Seichel and more Megushim Dikaif. So now, do you have the whole Seichel? The whole Emek, the way that Rav understood it, you don't have. You have a lower version of the Indian. But the lower version stands on its own now. You lower down the Indian. And you have the Indian the way it's explained on a lower level. Same you have Begashmis, same you say Begashmis. You have the stream of water, and then I don't want to have the whole stream here. I want to have a little bit of water here. You can't say it's a little bit means you say a little bit it means two things. That you have only a little bit and not everything. But that little is an entity for itself. It's a little bit of it. So you have a little bit of that Indian. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise they say in Ashpa Ruchnis. The regular Eif in Ashpa, the way we understand it is if Nekuda Aleph wants to affect Nekuda Shniya, Nekuda Beis, and the Nekuda Beis is lower than the Nekuda Aleph, the only way that could affect it is the Nekuda Aleph. But the Nekuda Beis is lower, so you're going to have to be Mitzamtzim the Indian. When you're Mitzamtzim the Indian, there's always two things. So you only have a percentage of the Indian. Eichus-wise, you have a percentage. But that percentage stands independently. You have a little bit of the Indian. You understand what I'm saying? That's, you don't say Seichel HaTalmud me'ein Seichel HaRav. Ermei Namar is a whole different Indian. But before we say, when you get to Shefa, you start saying when you get to Shefa. The Rav wants to be Mazbu Seichel HaTalmud. The Talmud is lower than the Rav. So you have the idea the way the Rav understands it. The idea the way the Rav understands that Talmud is never going to understand. The Talmud is on a lower level. So what do you have to do? You have to lower down the Inyan, that it should be massive to the Talmud. So the Rav has to lower it down. Once he lowers it down, now he was matzliach to be malbish the seichel and oasis or ideas that Talmud is able to understand. In the version, the way he's masbir the seichel to the Talmud, do you have the way he understands it, or it's on a little bit of a lower level? It's more superficial. You have a certain percentage of his understanding you still have here, but not the entirety of the Inyan. You have a little bit of it, but a little bit. But after the Rav is malbish the seichel to the Talmud, the Rav's going to leave. The Talmud's going to forget the seichel after the Rav leaves. No, and now he lowered the Inyan. Now the idea is also on a lower level. The idea before was only, now he lowered down the idea. The idea is on a lower level. But you say that on one hand, the doesn't work like that. But you say that what the Mekabel is getting is nothing from the Rav. L'chorah, we're going to say the same thing. You have light the way it exists in the sun. The idea of light the way it exists in the sun, let's use on our terms, is al derech mishvi and Mekabel. But us, what's the idea of light the way we get it? The idea of light is till now I wasn't able to see this benches and tables. Now I'm able to see benches and tables. Yeah, that's the idea of light. The concept of light in the sun is different in Ganzen. It's not that you're able to see things. We have no idea what is the shemesh. The lashon says it's a behiri atzmi. Its behiris is not a behiris, but us the idea of behiris is that it takes away darkness. What's the idea of behiris? Then now it's not dark and we're able to see things. The behiris in the sun is a different Indian. So we're not a keli to experience sun the way it is by the shemesh. I mean, it's even if it wouldn't be mamish without what I'm saying. B'chlal, any Indian, you have the way the Indian is in the makar. The makar is always higher than the way the Indian is experienced l'payil. The makar is the source of the Indian. The Indian, the way it is in the source, is always on a higher level than the way you experience it l'payil. So always, the experience l'payil is going to be a lower version of the Indian the way it is in its source. So the Indian l'payil is always going to be, it's a part of that Indian. It's a little bit of that Indian. That's Shefa. Shefa is, the idea the way it is in its initial state is in a higher Eifin. The Mekabel gets a lower version of the Indian. But a lower version, but it's a little bit of the Indian. It's a chedik of the Indian. It's a smaller percentage. Or you say the l'chorah say the same thing. The slight the way it's in the source is in a higher eifin of light. Shemesh is the makar of air. So the light the way it is in the Mamer, which is the makar, is in a higher eifin. We don't know what the experience of it there is. So l'chorah, the fact that light is able to come in a way that we experience it the way we experience it. How would you understand it? That the shemesh, I don't know exactly, is that tzimtzum. And the light is translated and it works according to our terms. It goes through a tzimtzum, the same way that we're able to experience light, as able to verstehen. That's shefa. If you say that word, that's shefa. We say that there is light the way the light exists in the source, in the shemesh itself. And that light itself is beyond our experience. We can't experience the light, that's too high. Then there is the way the light is mitzamtzim and the way we experience light. A lower version of light. That's called shefa. That's not it. If I state the meaning, means that what we say by we say that say like this. But the way we experience light is a audible vat. That doesn't express b'chlal what light is. It's not even a percentage of the light. Not like by the Rav Talmud, where what the Talmud understands is a percentage. It's not an audible vat. I have a small percentage of the seichel Rav was misamtzim. So I have a little bit of the seichel Rav. But the same when you get to light, the light that you're experiencing is not even doesn't give, that's b'chlal not what light is, what behiris is. B'chlal not, it's audible that. It's not even any percent of what light is. Le'idach, so you can't say this, you're going to say, could you say that the shemesh is mitzamtzim from himself? To lower light into a version the way we're getting it? You can't lower it to a lower version. This version that we're experiencing is not even a percentage of that. It's actually lowered it down. So where does the light come from? It's a different word. Since the behiris of the shemesh is not mugbal, so that has no gvul in how it could express himself. It's a different word. Since this mahus, when you have a makar mugbal, when the source is a limited thing, say you have the stream of water. So the stream of water has a certain amount, is a limited thing. In order for it to come there, it has to extend itself and come there. The Mayra Shemesh, the light in the sun, is not a limited entity. Since it's not a limited entity, b'meila it's an alifan. It's blikvul. B'meila it's everywhere. So if you say, so this is what Chassidus says, the makir is never misamtzim. The idea of behiris is never lowered down to work in our terms. Behiris, there's only one Behiris. There's the Behiris the way it is in the Shemesh itself. There's no two versions of light, like I say, but there's no two Svaras, like with the Seichel of Rabbi Talmud. There's the way that Rabbi is Talmud. There's no the way we experience light. There's one entity of light. This entity of light is not limited. So it's made on all levels, on all they found. I was going to give a. If I understand what I'm trying to say, just the haschol of the Indian. If I understand what's and just to bring up one more point, you say, let's use it in these terms. You say, by us, what's the idea of light? The idea of light is that till now was dark, it was dark in the room, and now there's no more darkness. We're able to see. By the Shemesh, there is no idea of darkness. There's no day of darkness. So what we don't know what the day of light is. But let's look and just to bring out the point. This is in these terms. So let's say it in this lashon that the light in the sun, not only that it's doiche cheshech, there is to begin with no idea of darkness. Let's be mitzayir like that. The light, the way it exists in the sun and the source, is not just that it's a light which pushes away darkness. Lagabi this light, there is no reality of darkness to begin with. So now, if you would have a muhos, which lagabi this muhos, there is no darkness altogether, and you bring it to a place where there is darkness, is the darkness going to be cancelled? If you have a mahos, like this mahos, the whole idea of darkness doesn't exist. There is no such a thing called darkness. It's unlimited. It's bleak light, and you're going to bring it to a place where there is a musik of cheshach. Is the cheshach going to be in his battle or not? If legabe this mitzias, there is no idea of cheshach to begin with. If it's going to come to rule of this cheshach, the cheshach is going to be in his battle. But if we're living in a reality that by us cheshach is a mitzias. What do we see when we're experiencing light? What are we experiencing? We experience that there's light that pushed away darkness. Is there be'emes light that pushed away darkness? Is there a light that in Yana is litchis cheshach, or there is no such a light? Be'etzem, there is no such a light which in Yana is to be cheshach. There's only one light. Legabi light, there's no such a thing called darkness. Legabi the shemesh, there's no such a thing called cheshach. So when the shemesh comes to the world, there is cheshach. It's finster. It's going to become ice dark. But the way we experience it, what do we see? We see that there's something came and pushed away darkness. The emes is nothing came and pushed away darkness. There came something which to begin with, the whole idea of darkness doesn't exist. But merely darkness was cancelled. So the emes is in Shefa, we would say that you have a Rav which is on a higher level. You have a Talmud which is on a lower level, and the Rav, since the Rav, you can't say that since the Rav understands even in such a life, and B'chlama Sayimane that the grubba head's going to understand it. No, the idea is an Eid life. To lower down to a lower world, you have to lower it down. When you lower it down, so now the Talmud didn't get the Edelkeit. What is the Talmud? A lower version. Mashiach and Negeret say a different story. Since this air is unlimited, Legabi, there is no mitzvah of cheshach to begin with. If it's going to come into a world that there's cheshach, avad it's going to become eis cheshach. What's going to make it eis cheshach? The same behiras gufa, not a different behiras. But the mekabel that he experiences only the result. What you're experiencing is the art of bavad. If I state the meaning. See, the Basi of Shevat is a very dark as the genius, which is a push to that.
So it ends up the reality of the sun. There's nothing from the sun's
perspective. What I'm saying is there's the idea that we're saying is there's light, right? There's something that causes us to be able to see things. It's called Behirus of this. Is there two versions of it, or there's only one version? There's only one reality of it. It says there's only one. There's one Behirus, but the one Behirus. What we're experiencing of the Behirus doesn't capture what Behirus really is at all. But what's causing us to see is that Behirus itself. Not like by Shefa, where what's the Talmud's understanding is only a little bit of the Rav, not everything. What's making this place wet is not the whole stream, it's a little bit of water that came there. Mash'enkin, when you get to the light, what's causing us to see is the light of the sun itself, not a lower version. But what we're experiencing is a horrible bavad of what the thing really is. If I state the Basi meaning. You understand where we're trying to get it, or it's not clear at all?
So the reality of Ha'ara is...
Ha'ara is, we say Ha'ara means that if you're only looking at one side of the coin, it's Ha'ara bavad. But in the truth, it's only the etzem. It's the etzem which is believable. It's the etzem being made.
It being believable, but in the case of the sun, it's the sun but poils up there.
Yes, I'm thinking Gashmi is hard to understand exactly how it works. In Gashmi, as I told you, it's a little bit hard to understand the Gashmi.
Especially, so which crap are we taking from the sun? In our Moshe, what do we want to take from the sun?
Explains it also by Gashmi, so it's a little bit of a harder idea to understand. But in Gashmi, it means the sun's light itself is an unlimited thing, so it's mere everywhere. That entity is everywhere. The Rav Svara, what he understands, the Rav Svara is limited. It's limited, it has a certain form. What's its form? That it's the Edel Svara. So a Talmud with a Me'ach Gas is not going to understand the Edel Svara. You have to lower it down to lower versions. You have to lower it down. When you lower it down, what do you have in the lower version? A smaller version. The air which the Shemesh itself has is an unlimited entity. But Mele, it doesn't have to lower itself. It's Blik Vol. The Chatchil is Blik Vol. So it's everywhere.
Then you have it.
I'm not saying Gashmi. I'm not saying it accurate in Gashmi. I want to explain the Gashmi. The Gashmi Eresh Shemesh works. I'm not saying it accurate because it needs a little bit more. If learn Chassidus and it's a little bit more back because they can how to explain it in Gashmi. I'm saying the idea. What's the idea of Erev versus Shevat? What are we trying to bring out? We're trying to bring out that the fact there's no ashpa coming from the makir. The makir is being pelled in a place which is be'en arich lower than it. So how could you? It's because the makir is not mugbal. Since to begin with the makir is not mugbal, so when you have it, it's going to be in all different ifan. So from the point of view of the makir, there's no two in Yanamir. It's one mohos, and this mohos is unlimited. Mashaikin, from what the Mekabel is experiencing, the Mekabel is experiencing is a arabavad. I'll give you a different mashal. This is Echet from the Meshalim Gdeilim, but the Rabbi always has this mashal. It's a good mashal just to bring out this point. You say there's a class sichli, you have a logic that a siba has to be before Mesulav. Right? The cause has to be before the effect. That's a basic logic. And that's why a father has to be older than the son. Nish tazeh. Atada was an elder funzo. Now, the chair exists in this room. Is there a logic? Does the chair have to be in this room? There's a logic. There's a how do you say a chiv sichli. How do you say a hechlich sichli? Not just a logic. It's kind of anders. I mean, you have a basic, how do you call it? A rule of, I don't know the word. The words for it, a chiv sichli. How do you say the fact that a siba has to be kedem mesu? It's not stam svara. How do you call it?
A rule?
Huh?
A rule?
A rule. It's called a rule. A hechlich sichli. Good. A chiv sichli. The fact that this chair is here, it has to be here. The table has to be in this room. So any logic is mechai the table to be here. It doesn't have to be here. Technically, it's here. So how much, with the fact that it's here, what's the nature of this being here? It's a very technical being. It's technically here. The fact that it's here, its existence in this room is a very limited, what's the nature of this existence? It's here technically, right? That's the Rabbi. So the table is here. It happens to be that a father is a couple of years older than a son. It's not shaykh otherwise. The same way, so you look at it externally, the same way a table exists, the father also is the Poyal Mamish higher than the son 20 years. But when you say, but the fact that why is the father older than the son 20 years? Because there's a hechlich sichli for that. It can't be otherwise. So that idea is much deeper. It's a much deeper existence. The nature of this reality, let's say it would be a reality, the fact that the father is older. It's a much deeper existence than the fact that the table is here. Now, if we're going to weigh it, how much is that table here? The fact that the table exists in this room. How strong is this existence? It's a technical existence. I mean, it happens to be that it's here. The fact that the father is 20 years old, it happens to be the father is older. It happens to be. It's true that it happens to be. The reality is that way. It happens to be that every time. But let's say you speak to Psachveis, that or Psachveis, I don't want to say, einer versteht bechlal nicht kein Inyan von Seichel. No ego in Seichel at all. Doesn't understand any a cosmic. He doesn't understand what he's saying. A cosmic. He has no idea what you're talking about. But he's also going to say that every father that he saw is older than the son. He doesn't know that there's a hechlich sichli for it. So by him, the fact that the father's older than the son is exactly like a table here in this room. He sees a table here, and he sees a father's older than the son. So does the fact that a father's older than the son exists also on a technical level? Someone that doesn't know the pneumius, he's going to see it as the same. What's the truth? The truth is, so you're going to say like this, I'll say there's a mitzvah. A chiyuv sichel is a much deeper reality than just a technical reality. There's technical that just exists. Their whole existence is that they're technically here. Then you have things that there's a chiyuv sichli that they're here. There's a hechrich. They have to be this way. Something which has to be, which can't be otherwise, is a much deeper being than something that's just technically here. It's a much deeper being. But something that's a deeper being. So the fact that he also exists on a technical level. the fact, besides the class sichli that we have, that is Basi before the Mesubav, does that class sichli have to affect a father and a son l'poil? You say, in order for this class sichli to also exist on a physical level, it has to be mashpia, shefa, a little bit, has to come down to make the fashwa. Yes, we have a shefa, why not? It's b'chama saimana. If it can't be otherwise, that's the reality. It's much deeper than just the physical fact. You have the physical fact that the father is older than the son. But from the point of view of the makir, it's not just a physical fact, it's much deeper than that. But could you escape the fact that it also exists l'poil? Could you escape the fact that it also exists on a technical, in a physical realm, that a father is older than the son? Varai, even a psagoy, was versteht nicht any classically, psakeh, chvez, a kid, I don't know, he never went to any school b'chlal. He also sees that the father is older than the son. So the fact that the father is older exists also on a technical level. But so someone that doesn't know the class sichli, he only sees the technical side. You can say it's audible vad. Nicht in dem besteht b'chal that it exists. It's much deeper than that. But you're saying, so the fact is much deeper. So in order for it to come to this chitzenistic thing, it has to go through a tzimtzum. What goes through a tzimtzum? If it has to be a vad, it's going to be like that. It's not two separate inyanim b'chal. See, when you get to the earth, of course, I was saying before, when you get to, when we experience light is, there's darkness, and the light can push away darkness. The MS is, there is no such a thing, light, that pushes away darkness. What we experience doesn't exist b'chal. There's no such a thing, light, that pushes away darkness. There's only one light. If there's light, at legabi it, there is no darkness. But if you have light, at legabi it, there is no darkness. And you bring it to a place where there's darkness. Is the darkness going to be in his battle? Avad is going to be in his battle. But with that, did you capture what light is? And not even an audible vad either. It's not even a chedik. That's not what light is, b'chlal. Light is not an entity which pushes away darkness. Light is something which has nothing to do with darkness, b'chlal. We don't understand what light itself is. But if you're going to ask someone, what's light? You can say, what is light? The thing that pushes away darkness. The sun is going to say, that's b'chal not what I am. Say it's chishtam b'chlal. But who's the one that pushes away darkness? The sun itself pushes away the darkness. Not a limited version of light. You understand what I'm saying? Let's just say when you get to Arab. There's two efanim, you say that there's an elin and a tachten, and the elin is a shpa, the ashpa of the elin is affecting the tachten. There's two efanim. Or that the elin, the regular, if the way we understand it is, that if the elin is higher than the tachten is a lower form of being of the elin. So in order for the elin's mahus to affect the tachten, it has to limit itself. It has to suit itself to the form of the tachten. So then, the tachten is not going to get the full elin, but a little bit it's going to get. A percentage of it is going to get. Or there's another way. The another way is that the Elyon is not a limited being. If the Elyon is not a limited being, so if he's Ein Sof, so this Mahus is mispashet. This Mahus is mispashet everywhere. This Mahus is not limited to be in a certain form. So it's also mispashet. The minute you say the reason why I'm being mispashet is because the Mahus is not limited, then if you only take a spashtus, it's a audible vat. Something that the reason why it's being made is because it's not mugbal. So if you take only the gvul of it, you're taking the audible vat of the Indian. You verstehe was so?
That means no such thing as or is more.
It is the idea that the more is that the more is begilui. But what's the pshat that the more is begilui? Because the more is not limited to be dafkin at sort of hell. That's the music of it. Means literally there's the etzem, which is beyond expression, and then there's the fact that I could sense it. It's expressed. I could feel it. But what could you feel? If the etzem is not limited, so it can also be felt. But if you're a limited being and you can sense things beyond feeling, so that's what you're feeling is audible vad. What could be experienced in experience is only audible vad. But what's being experienced, the etzem itself. That's what we're saying. Since the etzem is beyond any form of being, so it can even be experienced in being. But why can it be experienced in being? Because it's not limited in any form. But what we're taking is only the form. And that's audible act, it's nothing of the Indian. You understand what I'm saying? It's a very important idea. It's very good to understand this Indian, because it gives a certain... But besides that, it's Indian was gedei zu verstehen. It's Indian that's gedei to how do you say, to be misamis, understand it. It's a very important thing. You versteh was ich rede? What's the word? Ein bisschen. Darf es verstehen? I'll just say this one more time. What we're saying is that I was trying to think of a good dogma. I'm choshev, saying is, just in the basis of the way Chassidus says it is, you have there's an atzmi means that is mitzias. What I'm saying is like this: anything that we experience the poil, we're limited beings, right? Anything that we experience the poil is going to have a limit. If you're experiencing it, if you're feeling it, then it has to have some definition. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Nicht azeh. If you're experiencing it, if it's being mayor, if it's being mispashit, if you're feeling it, if it's being mayor, it's affecting practically. So it has to. What are you feeling? Hergish at tfisa gila has to have a certain tfisa. Now we're saying usually the reason why the etzim is also the etzim is an atzmi is higher than tfisa hergish. Hergish is gvul. Hergish is that there's if you're feeling it, if you're experiencing it in reality, so there must be some definition of what you're experiencing. If you're experiencing it in reality. Now, so Pashas would say that the etzim is beyond experience. The etzim is bligvul. Let's say it's beyond definition. So if I'm experiencing in a definition, so it's mitzamtzim itself. Because this etzim is unlimited, so therefore it's not limited dafka to be in a form of higher than expression. It can be expressed also. So who's being expressed? This etzim, which is mufshit, he's not limited dafka to be mufshit. He's not limited, he can also be expressed. So who's the one being expressed there? The etzim is being expressed. But the one that's experiencing it is not experiencing anything of the etzim. That's what we're saying. Because from the point of view of the etzim, why is it being felt? It's because it's unlimited. That's from its point of view. But what we're experiencing is only the result. So we experience is only the experience. That's our Rabbi of what the Indian is. I'll give you one more mashal. That's one more mashal. That's what I'm going to say. Huh? What's the pshat ha'arav levad? And the ha'arav levad is mechayiv that it's mein amar. Before we get to the word mein amar, but just that's the word mein amar. But the Rav and the Talmud, since what's the uft of mein amar? What do you mean mein amar? Pashas, we say that by Rav and Talmud, the seichel Talmud is not me'ein seichel Rav. You have two versions of the Inyan now. Yeah, the way the Rav understood it stayed in his head. The Talmud is lower. So what did the Talmud get? The idea, the way it suits to the Talmud. But there is no idea the way it suits to the Makabel. The etzim itself is, since it's not mugbal, so it's meir also there. So what's being meir there? The etzim. So the gilui is going to be kfiyah etzim. Not what you're feeling is the etzim, not something else. That's the air is made amar. If the air would be gilui, if the pashas you would say without the uft of air made amar, air means gilui. Gilui is by definition can't take the amita saying so. Gilui is gvul. Gilui is tfisa. So how much do you have of the etzim? According to how much the etzim can be expressed. That's gvul. That's limit. That's a gvul. So then it's not ermein amar. The mind is higher than gilui. It's higher than tfisa. L'poil and gilui, you only have how much it is being transferred through gilui. It's not mein amar. And then this name. The air is mein amar. The air is the mar. That the mar is unlimited. So who's being meir here? The mar is being limited. So the gilui is going to be kfeif and amar, not kfeif and gilui. That's what we're saying. That's what ermein amar. If it was ashpon eifan of shefa, then what the Mekabel gets is the idea that it gets is an idea packaged and suited according to the Mekabel. So the idea, the way it is by the Mashpia, that wasn't a skaba by the Mekabel. Mash'eng in the minute you say, Mash'eng when you say that the Rav, the Elgin was never mitzamtzim itself. So why is he being, because the Elgin is not limited, so he's mayor also. So then who's being mayor? The Etzim is being mayor. So then the Gil is going to be mayor Amar. The Eir is going to be always mayor Amar. It's not a separate entity.
I get in the marshal Bible.
I'm just trying to bring out. I want to bring out a point that what we say horrible vad. Horrible vad it means horrible vad and meina amar is totally one another. Just say what's in the desire. I just want to bring out this point. I want to bring out this mashal. You have the shimsh. We're saying people have strength. Yeah, this person has enough care to rip a paper. Other person is a little bit stronger. He could also break a table. So people have this more strength, less strength, more strength. There's how much strength we have, how much power we have. This person has this amount of power. This person has more power, less power. Then you have Shimshon HaGibber. Shimshon HaGibber, what's the pshat? He had more power than all other people. He had more muscles, especially than everybody else. Then when his wife Dart and Delilah cut his hair, why did he be mitamol as the nest and his muscles went away? Different part. He had a getach gvura. He had a gvura lekis. Means the Eibish's gvura is not a major amount of power. The Eibush is not limited. By him it was the Eibish's gvura was his galam. There was no limit to what he was able to do. It was in a blig vol that was meir. He didn't have a certain amount of power. There was no limit to what he was able to do. It's the Eibish's gvura. The Eibishter's Gvura is not a certain amount of Gvura. He's unlimited in the realm of Gvura. It's a different Indian. So now, when Shimshon HaGibra had unlimited amount of energy, it's a different type of energy. It's not a physical allowed amount. He wasn't limited. In the realm of Gvura, he wasn't limited. He was B'dugma Shalmayla when he came to Gvura. So now when he broke a table, with what energy did he break the table? If he had unlimited Gvura, so then he can't break it. So of course he can break a table. With unlimited Gvura, he can do anything. Of course he can break a table. But did the person that started breaking the table, did he experience unlimited Gvura or he experienced a massive thing? What did he experience?
Massive thing.
A massive thing. Is that even a chelik of what Shimshon HaGibra had?
Garnish.
Gvul, the bli gvul is nothing. It's not even a percentage. What broke the table was the bli gvul. But the bli gvul affected a tetzah. If you're looking only at the tetzah, it's a horrible vat. That's what we're saying. But who's the one affecting it? It's the etzim affecting it, not anything else.
It's not quality of the ha'ara, it's a quality of the experience, I'm saying, of the tetzah.
No, so the arda is arda. We mean there's the fact that air is a arable vad is if you look at the air from its own perspective. If you look at the gili as a thing for itself,
Is the tetzah.
no. Arda, I'm saying is if you look at the hergish itself being margish the Indian, the gili of the Indian doesn't bring out what the Indian is itself, but the pnimiyas advardim, what's being nisgala is that. If you look at Gili itself, you're experiencing a person. Maybe if Chayes and Nevesh could be clear, but if you're looking at there's the Indian being mayor. If you look at the aspect of what you're feeling, the Gili of the Indian. So you're looking at not only the result, you're looking at the Gili itself. The Gili itself is nothing of the etzim, because Gili is always limited, and the etzim is bli gvul. If you're experiencing it, it's a certain definition of what you're experiencing. Gili is gvul, the etzim is bli gvul. But the etzim, what's being nisgala? Or why is there gili? Because since the etzim is not limited, the meli is also begili. So what's begili is the etzim, not anything else. If you're looking at the gili as an entity for itself, you say that's arabavad. The gili doesn't capture what's really happening here, what the etzim is. You ever said that?
I don't understand it in the context of Elikus. I could have an idea that in the Mashalim, there was a physical thing that happened, and the person was grasping whether it was Abu Ben, whether it was by Shimshon. There was an event taking place, and that was a technicality. Here, in the concept of Elikus, if it's more itself? What's the person? Meaning, how does it express itself in the context of
the more itself? The more is also begili. The mar is beginning. We could experience the Eibush there. If there wouldn't have been a tzimtzum, we would experience the tzimtzum.
Meaning, you experience in his pure state of being. He didn't answer. How are you experiencing me in his pure state of being? He didn't change up to fit into your definitions. He remained in his. So, in the Mashalim broad, there was an idea that was relatable to you, which was an expression of that truth. There was a truth that a ilah always comes before an alul. There was a way you could relate to that by a father coming before its son, and it didn't have to change up to fit into your definitions. Shimshon was
It's unlimited. If it's unlimited, it could be anything.
But he had to, within himself, he had those two sides within himself. He had.
I'm saying, in order to break a table, he had to limit his energy that it should suit to break a table. What I'm saying is,
he did a thing which you could grasp. He did
exactly. The Eibush could also. The Eibush is begili. The Eibush is meir begili. I experience it. A person would experience Elikus.
But experience, by definition, means that experience is something that fits into my definitions.
No, that's your experience of air and makif. It doesn't make a difference. That's your experience.
And you can't. It's impossible.
Exactly. You would experience the Indian. That's exactly what Chiddush is saying. Gilui, the Chodim means gvul. If you're experiencing it, then there's what you're experiencing.
While it stays in a pure state of being, how could you experience that?
But is that pure being limited or unlimited?
If it's unlimited, it can even go into your state of being, let's say.
Not even
but
go.
It's
so
not.
It's not even go. Not that it can even limit itself. So the way it is, it's unlimited. So it's also that. It's not that it can also go there. That's by Rav Talmud it can also go. We're saying something else. Since this energy, this essence is unlimited, it's vligvul. So it's not only beyond. It's not limited that it has to be beyond. You're going to feel it. This ain't stuff is unlimited. Not that it can also lower itself.
In what way you fit? Meaning
you're being margish. The Eibush is unlimited. You're being margish. He's going to be begilui. What I'm saying is, they say the chayis nefesh beguf. The nefesh is mechaya the guf. The guf is alive. The guf is alive. The nefesh is life. The way we experience life is that it's an experience. We're experiencing the fact that we're living. It's an experience. We're walking, we're talking, we're hearing, we're seeing. The nefesh itself is beyond experience. It's a different definition of life. But it's not limited to be beyond definition. So it could also be felt. It could also be heard. It could also be heard. That it is unlimited. But we're only taking the experience side of it. We're not taking the etzem of it. But mitzad the etzem, it's one in you. Okay, I'm not going to speak about this again, go through this in again. Unless the dafka wants. But if not, we'll go weiter in the Mamer.
No, it's Geschmack in. It's Geschmack in.
I could speak about it again. I'm assuming that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't get this part.
This is the basic Indian of Erev Shevat.
I get the Shevat, I don't get the Arb.
But I'm just telling you that that's the Indian of I verstehe don't. There's a betrachten wegen. It's not an easy word. It's a dakas word, but betrachten wegen them. I'm saying it's not an easy. It's not a technical word. It's a word which is derish machshav. It's derek a little bit ion. It's not a word of another shir. You have to process the Indian. If you process it, then we can figure out it again. I don't know. That's up to you. That's the thing. It's up to the. If not, can we get a bit weiter? I'm not looking to. It's an Indian which you have to sense the Indian.
So what was it that the word? It's not like Shefa, that it's a second version of the.
It's the etzem itself.
But
the etzem itself is not limited. To begin with, it's not limited. So you're experiencing a side of it. Really, from the point of view of the truth, this side is the same essence as the gufa Indian.
Is there some maramakim, like something that...
Good maramakim, I don't know good maramakim. Good maramakim is just.
So why is it not the Mar?
It is the mar.
It's not. It's the Hara.
That's what I'm trying to say before. From our point of view, it's a hara. From the makar's point of view, it's the mar attack. It's not a hara.
So why? Because of our what will happen to us?
We can't experience the Indian the way it is b'mkari. We're experiencing only the experience aspect of it. From the mar's point of view, it's really the belief of the mar.
So it's not in two separate mekaymas.
No, it's the same os.
It's just Mar. So we don't even know what Mar is. We know what Mar is. It looks like a Hara.
We don't see the gufa Indian. We only see the experience of it. The experience doesn't capture what the Indian really is.
Saying we could only see things by
The
experience.
experience of it, exactly. So what's being experienced is something which is beyond experience. What we're experiencing is something which is beyond experience. That's
we don't
so
know
it's
what the
Arab.
Mar is.
Exactly.
Whenever
That's
we
the
see
pshat
Mar,
Arab.
that's really a Hara.
Exactly. That's the pshat Arab. That's the pshat Arab.
So if Nafrik says we would never know about that, what we think the Mar is really what it's really a
Okay,
Hara.
this wasn't the shayla exactly with that. So we'll have to be mamshel this. How are we going to be mamshel this? With mamshel then. What are you going to learn tomorrow? What's the other going to learn? Huh?
I didn't finish that.
This Mamer? You're going to learn the Mamer? Okay. If you want to look at, I don't know if this Mamer is such a good Mamer, but Ashen with Tafshin, I don't know if it's the best Mamer. You can look and say for Erchem Erech, but mamshel then.